Hello and welcome to today's recording of the stress workshop that we had this week at the No Regret Studio. This is a video that we're going to provide with all the tools to help you overcome stress for good. So let's get stuck into it. So the mission today is to provide you with the tools and the knowledge to overcome what is for many people their biggest obstacle, and that is stress. So what we're going to cover today is firstly what stress is and really define it, especially like in terms of exercise. Most people really misunderstand what that really is. Secondly, how it does affect your health, so the signals that it's giving you, and then how to recognize them and identify them, and then lastly what different tools and strategies you can use to overcome it. So let's get into it. Part 1, what is stress? Now, this is a real irritating thing that we see as Czech practitioners, especially, and especially fitness professionals, is seeing people adopt a fitness strategy to become healthy. All right, you just cannot adopt that. This is just bad news. Every way you look at it, every way you slice and dice that, it's not going to work. So, the biggest factor preventing people from getting the result from their health strategy or campaign is stress. So the title up the top there is really telling you need to have it exactly in that order. You need to become healthy, and then you can become fit. Almost like you've got to earn the right to start training for fitness. All right. If you're using fitness strategy to get healthy, you're just making yourself more unhealthy. No two ways about it. All right. So this took me a long time to understand, but I'm going to show you today there's some things that you can recognise to help you, and you not become one of the statistic of people who are overly injured and always sick all the time, or got multiple problems with cholesterol or blood pressure or other forms of diseases that come about from abusing fitness training. All right, so and to lose weight, for example, like it's not a good strategy to use fitness training, which would be like running, cycling, to lose weight. It just does not work. You get like a short-term result with a lot of long-term problems. Right? There's a much easier way, and I'm going to show you that today. So stress, what is it? So firstly, you need a certain amount of stress to alert you when there's a danger. If you didn't know there was a danger that would be really bad, you could easily get killed. So you need it. It's essential for you, but it's the problem with most of us is we don't turn it off. It stays sort of on the go all the time. So and we would have heard the term fight or flight. So that's what the stress response is for. So in a stressful situation, the body secretes the stress hormones. So remember these two hormones all the time: adrenaline and cortisol. And this this sort of like prepares our arms and legs in order to either help us run away quicker, or stay and fight, or push a heavy object from crushing us, for example. When this happens, our digestion shuts right down. So this is why it's not a good idea if you're trying to lose weight and you're using a fight or flight method, because you think about it, flight would be running. Fighting would be, say, boxing, or doing weight training circuit style, and you've got too much stress in your life. All right, this is just a real bad strategy to use. All right, so your digestive system is going to shut down because all the blood, all the adrenaline and cortisol has to go to your arms and feet. So it comes away from your internal organs. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd rather my internal organs be in better shape than my arms and legs, because I know if one of them shut down, I wouldn't have much longer to live. So stress is like an alarm clock. So an alarm goes off only when there's a danger. It would not be a good thing if the alarm was going off every 5 minutes. And that's what happens when people are in this sort of constant state of stress. So, and it's only needed for survival. So when it secretes these hormones, it needs to have, for it to not wear itself out, it needs to shut down. So you need to have a lot of, if you've got a lot of stress, you need a lot of like calming and meditation type stuff, or Tai Chi, or something that's relaxing. All right, you can't be in this constant state of manic, and we all know those people who are, and they're stress heads. That's the definition we give them. They're a stress head. They're not fun to be around anyway. So you don't want to be one of those people. So I'm going to help you identify that in a second. So where does the stress come from? So most people think of the mental stress, right? But there's 6 other common stress forms, and you can read about these in Paul Chek's How to Eat, Move, Be Healthy book. This is where I've borrowed all this from as well. So this really helps you to define where the stress is coming from, because it's more than just the mental stress that we all think of. And the 6 ones are physical, chemical, electromagnetic, mental, nutritional, and thermal. Right, so here's a little chart that's from Paul Chek's How to Eat, Move, Be Healthy book. And basically he's listing all the stresses here, and then all these stresses sort of will affect any one of these physiological systems that you have, your limbic emotional system, so that's the more the mental side, your hormonal system, your visceral system, which is digestion and all that sort of stuff, your nervous system, your musculoskeletal system. So any one of these can affect any one of these. And so the reactions from all of these have the same sort of effect no matter where they're coming from. And they sort of filter their way through like a funnel here, and then create stress on your body. And and if you don't acknowledge them and they keep building up and hit into the red zone, then bad things will be happening to you. All right, so the first one, like most people think of, is the stinking thinking. And it's important to remember here that your mind's perception of things become reality. So everything in the real that happens in the real world must start in your mind first. You can't sort of do anything in the real world without having a picture or an image of it before you actually do it. And negative thoughts play a role in actually making things play out as if they're actually happening. And in most cases they don't actually happen, and they're not even true at all. They're all things that your mind sort of creates. And this quote here by Mark Twain is a real good one. I refer to this quite a lot with many people when I'm helping them with stress, and and it sort of sums up the fact that they live out like a stressful event before it's actually happened, and in many cases didn't actually happen. So we're going to give you an exercise to help you with this, but the first thing you've got to do is you've got to acknowledge it, and you need to sort of start thinking about, okay, where is all my stinking thinking at the moment? And financial stress is a common one. Relationships is another one. Work stress. It could be many things. All right, but the first thing is to try and identify where it's coming from, and when we remember these sort of common stress forms, you need to start identifying it. Have I got physical stresses like doing too many workouts, or not doing any workouts? Both of them are equally stressful. Chemical stress, like being around a paint factory, or living underneath power lines or something, like be electromagnetic. Mental stress we just discussed. Nutritional stress would be eating poor choices of food, too much processed food, or not eating enough food, or eating too much food. All of them are stressful to the body and create a stress response. Thermal stress is like living in a hot or a really cold climate, or having your heater up too high all the time, and it's things like that. Right? So, but basically, understand that wherever these stresses are coming from, the reaction to them is the same. And I'm going to repeat that many times throughout this video for you. Alright, so a good book to read here. It's quite a sort of detailed book, but it gives users a lot of analogies with animals, where the animals are really good at turning on the stress response to deal with a really short-term crisis. So basically they either turn their stress response on to get rid of the stress, or if they're not good enough, then they'll be killed, more or less. But the key here is that it's a short-term response. So as soon as the crisis is over, they turn the stress response off and they go back to doing what they were doing. They don't sit in the like if it's a zebra, they don't just sit in the plane thinking about if there's a lion going to be coming. They don't worry about it. Worry about when the lion's there. Where we would be sitting there thinking about it and worrying about our superannuation in 20 years' time, if we're going to have enough, and if someone likes me at work, and all this sort of stuff. All right, and so we sort of are very much like living. If we were a zebra, we'd be just thinking that there's lions around every tree, and we wouldn't live very long, and probably have blood pressure problems, and become diabetic, and become fat. How many fat animals do you see out in the world? You don't see any. All right, so it's a great book to read. What happens when you have too much stress? Well, when you don't sort of like have enough repair time, so that if you don't get your growth and repair hormones, because they're lowered when your stress response is increased, the growth repair hormones are decreased. So if you keep doing that for too long, you break down the body tissues and the fatigue of your adrenal glands, and there's a picture of them there located on the top of the kidneys. So adrenal gland exhaustion is linked to illnesses like chronic fatigue, glandular fever, depression, all those things that just sort of like ruin you for a long time. So, you know, you really want to acknowledge when you're in this state before you get there, right? So too much stress equals illness plus lack of growth and repair equals disease. You know, it's like a mathematical equation. Injury plus lack of growth and repair equals chronic injury. So basically, your body's now a state of eating itself to repair itself. And here's a picture of Homer with chronic fatigue. All right, so you've got to acknowledge that you can't. This is where physical stress comes into it. People are using fitness strategies to reduce their stress, but it's just another stress on top of another stress. So if you're carrying a lot of injuries and you're trying to exercise too much, you're just going to create chronic injuries. All right, you need to be a lot smarter with the way you do things. You need to clean up your food, get to bed on time, all those sort of things. So the most important thing to get out of all this is the definition of what is stress. Doesn't matter where it comes from, the reaction to it is exactly the same. So repeat that to yourself several times to help you understand that, you know, it's more than just mental stress. If you've got crap food and you're over exercising or under exercising, you're now just having like 3 arguments with someone, all right, and they're just accumulating on you and they're going to wear you out, guaranteed. All right, so another analogy you can use is like being chased by a vicious dog. So mental stress from work, kids, money, etc., plus nutrition stress. There's 1 + 1 plus poor diet plus physical stress. You're now from being ill or injured, not doing exercise, now to being chased by 3 dogs instead of 1. All right, so you see how that would not be very fun if you were doing that all day, right? And I know many of our clients are like that, and they really need to watch this video because it's going to help you. All right, so exercise. So we sort of touched on this already. It can be good stress, so it is stressful either way, but it can be good. So if you're in a position where you're reasonably healthy and you've got things under control, you're cleaning your food up, you're getting good sleep, you'll have a good response from it, and you'll activate the growth and repair hormones when you sleep. But if you've got too much going on and you're eating poor food choices and we're skipping meals for that matter, then you'll have a negative response to the exercise, especially if it's the wrong choice, and you'll have a catabolic effect, which meaning you're going to eat yourself to repair yourself. So this depends on many things, and I've listed a few of them here. Basically, how many stresses are present already. So how much mental stress, nutritional stress, all those things that you've already got. How taxing the workout is. If you're doing a 2-hour workout, it's going to be too much. Probably better off doing half an hour. If you're doing like 10 workouts a week, it's going to be stressful. If you're only doing 1 workout a week, it's going to be stressful. Every time you do that 1 workout, it's going to kill you. Right? You really need to be doing more. If you're doing too many, like triathletes, marathon runners, they're in the state of being equally as bad as the person that does nothing because it's too much. All right? So you must understand that exercise can be bad. So the choice of exercise is like cardio. The more stressed out you are, the more likely you should not be doing this stuff. If you really enjoy it, you can do it, but don't do it, overdo it. Just keep it short and sharp. Distance runners get addicted to the endorphin rush, but this is just like a heroin addict addicted to the rush of heroin. It's not a good idea to keep giving that person heroin. You've got to learn to get them off the heroin and teach them there's a much more healthier way to get a high or to be happy. It's not a good thing if you need the addiction to keep you happy. All right, and it's a catabolic effect. Remember, it's always massive destructive hormone, the catabolic hormones. All right, so you need an anabolic approach, which is done from strength training. So the goal is always to build and repair, not break and destroy. So weight training is excellent, but it must be monitored carefully. If they're done in an intensity that goes to failure or fatigue, and gets you breathless, then it's going to become more like cardio. All right, so you need to be a little bit more sensible and keep the sets pretty low and the reps pretty low, long break. Paul Chek refers to this as neurotonic training, and it has a massive hormonal release of anabolic hormones. So very, very good because it's the opposite to catabolic. All right, so you'll get a good stress response from that type of training. Here's a nice little slide that just demonstrates, you know, like cardio training, stress hormones are released, long time to train, eats muscle tissue, slows your metabolism, makes you look older, weaker bones, and prone to getting sick or disease. Now, I don't really want that type of training. I don't know about you. I'd rather be on the other side. All right, so you can have a read through that later on, but that gives you a good idea. So I'm going to cut this presentation short so we can go through the tools and strategies on a separate video for you. All right, so far we've got some really good stuff. Stay tuned for the second one where I'm going to show you what to do now that you know what it is and how to identify it.